The city of Zithera gleamed like a jewel under the light of its twin suns. Towering spires of polished metal and crystal reflected the golden rays, making the entire capital look alive, as if the buildings themselves breathed with a pulse. Streets bustled with beings of all shapes and colors, but none drew as many curious glances as the human who had arrived just a week ago. Ethan, a young human explorer, had never expected to step onto a world so strange and beautiful. Every corner of Zithera seemed alive, filled with sights, sounds, and smells he had never encountered. Ethan's arrival had caused whispers throughout the capital. Humans were rare here, and though Zithurians prided themselves on welcoming outsiders for trade and diplomacy, there was an unspoken rule. Humans were to remain observers, not participants in the social circles of the elite. Yet Ethan had been invited to a grand gala held by the royal family, a privilege that left many nobles uneasy. Among them, the young Princess Liara, whose reputation for intelligence and courage was well known, watched him with cautious curiosity. Unlike many of her peers, she did not sneer at the human's foreign features or simple attire. Instead, she observed him as one might observe an unexpected phenomenon, with both caution and fascination. The gala took place in a palace hall that stretched higher than Ethan could comprehend. Crystal chandeliers hung like floating stars, and the walls displayed moving images of Zithurian history. Guests floated gracefully on platforms that hovered a few inches above the floor, and the air hummed with soft, melodic music. Ethan felt out of place in his human shoes, but he refused to let that stop him. He was here to learn, to understand, and perhaps to make connections that could change everything he knew about the galaxy. As he wandered, trying not to bump into anyone, he noticed a group of nobles whispering sharply and pointing in his direction. One of them, a tall, arrogant-looking Zithurian with silver hair and piercing green eyes, stepped forward. "This is the human they invited," he said, his voice dripping with disdain. "Does Liara truly not know the rules? Humans do not mate with royals. They do not belong here." He had read about these cultural taboos in Zithurian texts, but hearing them aloud in a room filled with the high and mighty made his chest tighten. He was not here to challenge the customs. He respected them, but the implication of danger and judgment was unavoidable. The human heart, after all, is sensitive to moments of public scrutiny. Before Ethan could respond, a voice rang out, clear and commanding, cutting through the murmurs like a blade of light. "He is my guest," the voice said. All eyes turned toward Liara. She was standing at the center of the room, her royal attire shimmering with subtle energy that marked her as a member of the ruling dynasty. Her eyes, the color of a summer sky on Zithera, locked onto the silver-haired noble. "And I will not have him insulted in my presence." "Come," she said, extending a hand that glowed faintly with a personal energy field, a mark of her royal status. "Do not let them see you shaken." People talked about Liara defending a human, an act that bordered on scandal. In Zithurian society, breaking the rules was one thing, but breaking them publicly in front of the entire elite was nearly unheard of. Liara led Ethan to a quieter balcony overlooking the central garden of the palace. Exotic plants glowed softly in colors he had no names for, and streams of water floated in midair, creating shapes and patterns that defied gravity. For a moment, Ethan allowed himself to breathe, to take in the beauty of a world so unlike his own. Yet he could not ignore the weight of Liara's words. "You must understand," she said, her voice low and serious. "Being here is not without risk. There are those who will see your presence as an offense. They believe humans are incapable of understanding royal customs, incapable of holding our trust. I only want to learn to understand and to help if I can." His words were simple, but in them was a sincerity that Liara recognized immediately. She had seen many outsiders who came with arrogance or ambition, but this human was different. There was a quiet intelligence in his eyes, a spark of courage that was rare even among her own kind. As they spoke, a young court messenger approached, his blue eyes wide with anxiety. "Princess Liara, the council is convening. They wish to discuss your association with the human guest." His words carried a warning, not a request. Liara nodded, giving Ethan a small, reassuring smile. "Stay here," she said. "I will return soon. Do not be afraid of their words." Humans have a way of surprising those who underestimate them. Here he was navigating a society with rules he barely understood, and the stakes were just as high. One misstep could mean exile, or worse. As the evening progressed, Ethan explored the balcony and the gardens, observing Zithurian life in small, quiet moments. He noticed the precision with which the royals moved, the subtle signals they gave each other, and the invisible hierarchy that guided every interaction. He realized that this society valued order above all, and any disruption could ripple far beyond his understanding. Yet he also saw opportunities. For every noble who looked down upon him, there were others who watched with curiosity, waiting to see if he would falter or thrive. Hours later, Liara returned, her expression calm but her eyes sharp. She gestured for Ethan to follow her to a private chamber, one that was rarely used by outsiders. Inside, she revealed a small, ancient text that she had kept hidden from prying eyes. The text contained mentions of humans, written in cryptic language. "This is why I defend you," she said, placing it before him. "Long ago, humans were allies to our people. The knowledge and courage you bring are part of a history that has been erased from our records. The Council wants to hide it, but I cannot ignore the truth." He did not understand all the words, but he grasped the meaning. Humans had been more than visitors. They had been partners, contributors, even saviors in the distant past. The idea that history had deliberately hidden this truth made his heart beat faster. Here, in the midst of alien royalty and political intrigue, he held a key to a secret that could change everything. Before he could speak, the chamber door slid open abruptly. A young courtier, clearly sent by the council, stood there, eyes wide with alarm. "Princess Liara, you are required immediately. The council will not wait," he said. Liara stood, her expression unwavering. She turned to Ethan. "Do not worry, I will protect you as best I can, but remember this, your presence here is not just a curiosity. You are part of something larger, something that could redefine what humans mean to our people." He was a participant in history, a potential bridge between species, and perhaps a catalyst for change. As Liara left to face the council, Ethan gazed out over the palace gardens once more. The twin suns were setting, casting long shadows over the floating streams and glowing plants. He felt small, yes, but also alive in a way he had never felt before. Humans might not belong among the Zithurian royals, the whispers said. But as he watched the alien world stretch before him, he realized that sometimes belonging was not about rules or titles. It was about courage, understanding, and the willingness to stand for what was right. The night deepened, and the palace hummed with unseen energy. Somewhere within its walls, decisions were being made that could affect not just Ethan and Liara, but the relationship between humans and Zithurians for generations to come. And as he waited, he understood something profoundly human, that no matter how small or far from home one might be, the heart's truth could shine brighter than the rules of any kingdom. Ethan took a deep breath, feeling the weight and wonder of the moment. He had arrived on Zithra as an outsider, a visitor in a world that did not expect him. Yet in the unfolding hours, he had already become more than a guest. He was part of a story, one that could redefine history itself. And as he watched the twin suns dip below the horizon, painting the sky in hues no human painter could replicate, he felt ready. Ready to face whatever trials awaited, ready to learn, and ready to stand beside the alien girl who had chosen to defend him against all odds. The whispers outside continued, soft but persistent. Humans do not mate with royals, but Ethan no longer feared the words. He had seen courage in the form of a royal who dared to defy the council, and he had felt the spark of possibility in himself. Somewhere deep inside, he knew that this was only the beginning. A journey had started, not just across worlds, but across hearts, histories, and futures yet unwritten. And for the first time, he understood the truth that Liara had hinted at. Humans, though underestimated, had the power to change worlds. As the night grew darker and stars appeared in the sky above Zithra, Ethan stood on the balcony, his eyes reflecting the distant galaxies. The city below shimmered like liquid gold, a realm of both beauty and danger. And in that moment, the human explorer smiled, feeling something he had never felt before, a sense of belonging, not by right or title, but by courage, curiosity, and the undeniable strength of the human spirit. The next morning, Zithra glowed in a softer light, as if the twin suns themselves knew secrets that the night had whispered. Ethan awoke in the guest chambers of the royal palace, still stunned by the events of the gala. The grandeur of his surroundings felt almost unreal. Walls made of crystal that shifted colors with the rising sun, furniture that hovered just above the ground, and a balcony that opened onto gardens suspended in midair. Every detail of the palace reminded him that he was far from Earth, far from anything familiar, and yet A strange sense of purpose stirred within him. He had barely finished dressing when a gentle knock came at the door. Liara entered, her movements elegant yet purposeful. She wore the formal attire of her rank, but her eyes carried a spark of defiance that Ethan found mesmerizing. She closed the door behind her and studied him for a moment. "You slept well?" she asked. Her voice was calm, but there was an urgency beneath it. "I did," Ethan replied, trying to steady his voice. "But I keep thinking about what you said yesterday, about humans being part of your history. I don't understand it all yet, but it feels important." "It is important. Very few humans know this, and even fewer Zithurians remember. The Council has hidden the truth for generations. They say humans are outsiders, incapable of understanding our ways. That is a lie. Humans once stood beside my ancestors. Without them, our line might not have survived a catastrophe that reshaped our world." She paused, letting her words sink in. "You must understand that your presence here is not only unusual, it is dangerous. Some of the Council will see you as a threat. They will try to humiliate you, to test you, to make you fail," Liara explained. "They cannot risk the truth becoming known. If you succeed, if you prove that humans have value beyond what they imagine, you will change how they see us both. If you fail, well, it will not end well for either of us." He had never been one to back down from a challenge, no matter how alien the setting. "Then I will not fail," he said. "I will learn, I will understand, and I will prove myself, for you and for humans. That is the spirit that will carry you through what comes next." She led him through a series of corridors that seemed endless, passing doors guarded by attendants who watched him with cautious curiosity. Eventually, they arrived at a chamber far quieter than the bustling halls of the palace. It was lined with holographic screens displaying maps, historical records, and strange symbols that Ethan could barely comprehend. "This is the council chamber," Liara said, gesturing to the room. "It is where decisions about the royal line, laws, and society are made. Today, you will not sit in judgment or participate in decisions, but you will be observed. The council wishes to see what a human can do. They will not treat you kindly. Sometimes, the best way to win is to surprise those who underestimate you." His gaze fixed on Ethan, filled with thinly veiled contempt. Liara stepped forward confidently. "This human is my guest," she announced. "He is here to learn, and I ask that you observe him fairly." The council murmured, some with curiosity, others with disdain. Ethan felt their eyes on him, probing, judging, and testing. He stood tall, doing his best to ignore the weight of centuries of prejudice pressing down on him. The first challenge came quickly. A holographic projection appeared in the center of the room, a complex puzzle of interlocking energy patterns. The council explained that it represented a diplomatic conflict on a distant planet. The task was to find a solution that preserved resources, minimized casualties, and maintained balance among rival factions. Ethan studied the patterns, his mind working rapidly. Humans thought differently than Zithurians. Where they saw complexity, he saw patterns. Where they expected obedience, he considered creativity. Minutes passed, and Ethan finally pointed to a sequence that seemed improbable. "If you initiate the exchange here and stabilize the energy flow this way, the factions will see mutual benefit and avoid conflict," he said. The chamber fell silent. Even Liara blinked in surprise. After a tense moment, one council member nodded slowly. "Interesting. Unconventional but effective." Ethan realized he had passed the first test. Pride mixed with relief, but he knew this was only the beginning. The next challenges were subtler. A moral dilemma was presented. A scenario in which a colonized planet faced famine, and a decision had to be made between sending supplies that could anger neighboring planets or withholding aid to maintain political balance. Ethan thought carefully, weighing each option. He spoke with honesty and empathy, something alien society rarely valued over politics. The council listened, some skeptically, some intrigued. Once again, his human approach, guided by morality and compassion, impressed those who had doubted him. After hours of tests, puzzles, and debates, Liara led Ethan to a quieter hall. He was exhausted, yet exhilarated. "You did well," she said, "but the hardest part is yet to come. The council is not finished with their tests. They will challenge you physically, and it will not be like anything you have trained for. You will need to rely on what humans do best, thinking quickly, solving problems, and acting decisively." Her eyes gleamed with a mixture of excitement and concern. "I will guide you when I can, but much will be left to your instincts." The challenge was simple in description. Retrieve an object from the center of the hall while avoiding hazards. both natural and artificially designed. Ethan studied the shifting floor, noting patterns in its movement. Where Zithurians might rely on strength or experience, he relied on observation and quick decision-making. The first obstacle appeared, a cascade of floating energy shards, glowing and moving in a rhythm. Ethan hesitated only briefly before noticing the timing of their movement. With careful steps, he navigated between them, feeling the rush of success as he reached the other side. The council watched in silence, some leaning forward in disbelief. A human, they realized, could learn faster than they had expected. More challenges followed, each designed to push him beyond what they thought a human could endure. An illusionary maze, walls that shifted unpredictably, and a final puzzle requiring him to activate a series of controls in perfect sequence. Each time, Ethan relied on observation, logic, and his human intuition. And each time he succeeded, the council, once skeptical, could no longer deny his abilities. At the end of the trials, Liara approached him with a proud smile. "You have done more than survive, Ethan. You have begun to show them what humans are capable of, but remember, this is only the beginning." The truth about humans in Zithurian history is deeper and more dangerous than any trial we have faced here. If those records are discovered, everything the Council believes about our history could change. We must be careful, though. Not everyone will want this truth revealed. The weight of it was daunting, but he felt an unfamiliar surge of determination. Humans had always been underestimated, he thought. Perhaps it was time to show the galaxy what they were truly capable of. As they left the ceremonial hall, Liara took him through quiet passages that wound beneath the palace. Ancient symbols glowed faintly on the walls, illuminating their path. Ethan felt a thrill of anticipation. Each step seemed to echo with the weight of untold stories. Finally, they reached a door concealed behind a tapestry of shimmering fibers. "This is it," Liara whispered. "The Chamber of Records. What you find here could change everything, for humans, for Zithurians, and for both our futures." Humans, he realized, had a unique strength, not in their size or technology, but in their courage, their curiosity, and their unwillingness to accept limits imposed by others. The chamber door opened, revealing a room filled with holographic records and artifacts. Ethan's eyes widened. The texts, some centuries old, detailed human involvement in Zithurian history, engineering solutions to disasters, diplomatic negotiations, and acts of courage that had saved entire generations. The evidence was undeniable. Humans had not been outsiders. They had been essential, forgotten only by the passage of time and the Council's desire to maintain control. Liara turned to him, her expression serious but hopeful. "Now you see why I defended you," she said. "The Council fears what the truth could do, but humans have always had the power to change worlds, and now, it seems, it is your turn to prove it once more." But now he was part of a story much larger than himself. A story of courage, truth, and the enduring power of humanity. And as he looked around the chamber, filled with the whispers of forgotten history, he felt ready. Ready to face whatever challenges awaited, ready to learn the secrets of Zithra, and ready to show that humans, though underestimated, could rise to any occasion. The twin suns had set, leaving the palace bathed in the soft glow of alien lights. Outside, the city thrummed with life, unaware of the bond forming within the royal palace. A bond that might reshape history, defy ancient rules, and reveal the untold strength of a species once thought insignificant. Ethan's heart pounded with excitement and anticipation. This was only the beginning, and he could already feel that the journey ahead would demand everything he had, and perhaps more. The Chamber of Records hummed with quiet energy, the walls lined with glowing symbols and ancient texts that seemed to pulse as if alive. Ethan's eyes darted from one artifact to another, absorbing every detail. Each record told a story humans had been part of long before the Council wanted anyone to remember. Engineers, explorers, and diplomats from Earth had once walked Zithra alongside the royal line, helping avert disasters and shaping alliances. For the first time, Ethan felt a profound connection, not just to Liara, but to a history that had been hidden from both humans and Zithurians alike. Liara moved beside him, her expression tense yet filled with determination. "This chamber has been hidden for centuries," she said quietly. "The Council fears that knowledge. If they discover we've accessed it, they may try to stop us, even if it means harming you. But I cannot let the truth remain buried. You must understand how much humans have contributed and how much they are capable of." Control. The council decided that only the royal line should be credited with survival and progress. Humans were useful, but acknowledging them would challenge centuries of authority. And now they fear what humans might do if they learn the truth. Ethan instinctively ducked behind a table while Liara's eyes narrowed. "Council guards," she whispered. "They suspect someone is accessing this chamber. We have little time. We need to find records that are most important, proof of humans' role in history. Then we must leave before they catch us. There is a hidden passage behind the northern wall. Follow me and stay quiet." Ethan marveled at the architecture of the palace's inner chambers, halls that twisted impossibly, doors that appeared solid but revealed hidden passageways, and floors that shifted to conceal secrets. He realized that the palace itself was a challenge, testing those who dared to uncover forbidden knowledge. Finally, Liara reached a section of the wall that seemed unremarkable. She pressed a sequence of symbols, and the wall slid open silently, revealing a narrow tunnel. The air inside was cooler, carrying the scent of aged stone and long-forgotten metal. Ethan followed her, careful not to make a sound, his mind racing with the knowledge of what they might uncover. The passage led them to a smaller chamber, filled with ancient holographic displays. Images of humans working alongside Zethurians shimmered in midair, engineers designing energy grids, diplomats negotiating peace, explorers charting uninhabitable planets. Ethan felt a surge of pride. Humans had done incredible things, and history had chosen to forget them. "This," Liara said softly, gesturing to the projections, "is proof that humans are not outsiders. They have shaped our world. And now, it is time to show the Council that these contributions matter." It wasn't strength or technology alone that had mattered, but their willingness to think differently, to take risks, to solve problems no one else could. A sudden rumble shook the chamber. Ethan instinctively grabbed Liara's hand, pulling her toward a side exit. "They're coming," he whispered. "We need to move faster. We will not be caught. Follow me." They navigated the twisting corridors, relying on both Liara's knowledge of the palace and Ethan's ability to notice patterns in the shifting walls. Every step was tense. Every sound could mean discovery. Yet even in danger, Ethan felt a thrill. Humans thrived in challenges, and this was unlike any he had faced before. As they emerged into a lesser-known hall of the palace, they paused. The chamber was empty, but the echoes of guards' footsteps grew louder. Ethan peered through a slit in the wall and saw a patrol moving cautiously, scanning the corridors. "We're clear," Liara whispered, "but only for a moment. We must reach the central archives. That is where the Council keeps records that cannot be erased, proof that humans were once honored allies." Liara watched in admiration, realizing that humans' ability to adapt and improvise was exactly what the Council feared. Finally, they reached a massive door, adorned with intricate symbols that pulsed with energy. Liara examined it carefully. "This is the final barrier. Only a royal may open it fully, but we can bypass the security if we work together." She handed Ethan a small device, a key of sorts, and explained how to align it with the symbols. Ethan's hands trembled slightly, but he focused, matching the shapes and sequences with precision. Slowly, the door opened, revealing the archives beyond. Inside, the chamber was enormous, lined with towering holographic stacks and floating data crystals. Ethan's eyes widened as he absorbed the sheer scale of the records. Every human endeavor on Zithera was documented here. The missions, the discoveries, the treaties, the innovations. And most importantly, the records showed the royal line's reliance on humans in times of crisis. Liara stepped closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "This is it, the evidence the Council wanted hidden. Once the public sees this, the narrative will change. Humans will no longer be considered outsiders, but we must be careful. The Council has spies everywhere. One false move and everything could be lost." He had arrived as a visitor, but now he was a participant in history. "We'll be careful," he said, "but we need to show them. The truth cannot stay hidden." They had built their authority on a narrative that excluded humans, and if that narrative collapsed, their power would be questioned. Humans had always been underestimated, and now, in the heart of the royal palace, they had the chance to prove their worth. Suddenly, a warning signal echoed through the archives. Ethan and Liara froze. Holographic screens flashed red. An intruder had been detected. The Council had discovered their presence. Ethan's heart pounded, but he felt a calm resolve. Danger had always been part of exploration, and humans excelled when it mattered most. Liara moved swiftly, guiding him to a hidden exit behind a stack of floating data crystals. We must move quickly. They will try to contain us. Ethan followed without hesitation, relying on his instincts and careful observation of the shifting floor. Together, they navigated the secret corridors, evading patrols and avoiding traps set by the Council to protect the archives. Finally, they emerged in a chamber overlooking the main council hall. From their vantage point, they could see the council members gathered, debating and gesturing. The silver-haired noble from before was present, his gaze sharp and suspicious. Liara whispered to Ethan, "We will reveal the records, not by force but by strategy. We must show them what humans have done and what they are capable of." Timing is everything. Gasps filled the council hall as the evidence became visible. Murmurs spread among the members, some skeptical, others in awe. The silver-haired noble's face twisted in anger and disbelief. This cannot be true. Humans are outsiders," he shouted. Liara raised her hand, her eyes blazing. "The truth is clear. Humans have been allies, partners, and saviors. They are not outsiders. They have the courage, the intelligence, and the ingenuity that our line once relied upon. And now, it is time you acknowledge it." Ethan stood beside Liara, feeling the weight of centuries on his shoulders, but also the undeniable strength of his species. Humans had survived against impossible odds, adapted to countless worlds, and now in the heart of Zithara they were proving their worth once more. Hours passed as debates raged within the council hall. Liara remained beside Ethan, her presence calm and resolute. Finally, a vote was called. The council members cast their decisions, and the results were clear. The truth could no longer be hidden. Humans would no longer be considered outsiders. Their contributions were recognized and their potential celebrated. Ethan felt a surge of pride, but also humility. He had arrived as a visitor, a curious explorer, but now he was part of a story much larger than himself. Humans, underestimated and forgotten, had shown the strength of their courage, their ingenuity, and their moral resolve. And for the first time on Zithara, the council and the royal line acknowledged it. As the twin suns began to rise, casting a golden light over the city, Ethan and Liara stood together in the council chamber. The palace, once a place of rigid rules and hidden truths, now felt like a realm of possibility. Humans were no longer outsiders. They were partners, allies, and a symbol of courage that could reshape worlds. And as Ethan gazed at the horizon, he realized that this was only the beginning. There were more challenges ahead, more discoveries to be made, and more truths to reveal. But for now, humanity had won a victory that would echo through the stars. The council chamber was quiet now, but the air remained thick with tension. The victory of revealing humans' true role in Zitharian history had been decisive, yet Ethan and Liara knew the council was not entirely at ease. Some members were willing to acknowledge the facts, but others remained bitter and resentful, unwilling to accept that humans had contributed so much to Zitharian survival. For every voice that praised the revelation, there was another that whispered about threats, about power, and about the consequences of overturning tradition. The palace, once seemingly a place of order, now felt like a battlefield for ideas. Liara guided Ethan to a private chamber. Her face was serious, eyes glinting with concern. "They accepted the evidence," she said, "but the council will not forget this easily. Some will seek to undermine our position to regain control. We must act carefully." "What do we do now?" he asked. Liara led him through the winding halls of the palace, eventually stopping before a massive, intricately carved door. "This leads to the inner records of the royal family," she explained. "Here lies the full history, records that prove humans were not just allies, but essential to the survival of the royal line itself. If the council sees these, they may finally understand that denying humans is denying their own heritage. But this is dangerous. Only a few are allowed here, and we are about to break a rule older than the palace itself." Every wrong move could mean exile, or worse, for both him and Liara, yet he felt a surge of determination. Humans had always succeeded by adapting, by thinking differently, and by standing firm when others doubted them. This was no different. Together, they entered the inner archives. The chamber was vast, filled with floating data crystals, holographic records, and texts that glimmered with ancient energy. Ethan's eyes widened. Every record told a story. Humans guiding Zitharians through cosmic storms, inventing technology to stabilize dying planets, mediating disputes that could have destroyed alliances. Each hologram was proof that humans had not been outsiders. They had been protectors, innovators, and partners. "This," Liara said softly, "is the truth they have tried to erase. Every contribution you see here proves that humans have shaped our world, and now it is time to make this undeniable so the Council cannot ignore it. They didn't just help, they saved lives, entire civilizations, and they were never recognized for it. But now the time has come to change that. Suddenly, a shadow passed across the chamber entrance. Ethan and Liara froze. A patrol of council guards had arrived, alerted by sensors that detected unusual activity. Their approach was cautious but determined. Ethan's heart raced. Humans had always thrived in moments of tension, and now he would need to rely on every skill he had learned. Liara touched his arm. "Stay calm, follow my lead. We can show the council without them stopping us. These records are part of the royal archives. The council must see them. Humans were essential to our survival. To deny this truth is to deny our own history." His calmness, his logic, and his courage were all part of what made him effective in a situation that seemed impossible. The holograms began to expand, illuminating the chamber with scenes of collaboration and heroism. Council members who had followed the guards arrived, their expressions a mix of shock and disbelief. Whispers spread through the hall like a gentle wind, carrying astonishment, curiosity, and fear. One council member, a senior noble with years of influence, stepped forward, his voice trembling. This cannot be. Humans are outsiders. How could they have played such a role?" Humans have not been outsiders. They have been essential. Their courage, intelligence, and moral strength saved our people more than once, and it is time the Council acknowledges this truth. Humans had always been underestimated, but here in the heart of the royal palace, their worth was undeniable. Every challenge, every test, every moment of courage had led to this. Suddenly, the silver-haired noble from the gala raised his voice. "This is dangerous. We cannot allow humans to rewrite history. They are not like us. They cannot understand our ways, our bloodlines, our traditions. Denying their role is denying our own survival." Humans had always succeeded by challenging assumptions, by demonstrating strength in unexpected ways. This was another chance to do just that. He stepped forward, his voice steady. "I came to Zithara as a visitor to learn and to understand. I did not come to challenge your traditions, but the truth cannot be ignored. Humans have helped your people. They have solved problems no one else could. And they are capable of more than you realize." "Exactly," she said. "And now you have shown them not just words, but proof. Humans are not outsiders, they are partners, allies, friends." The evidence was undeniable, the testimony compelling, and the courage of one human alongside a royal princess was a powerful statement. Hours passed as debates continued, strategies were discussed, and plans were made to integrate humans more fully into Zithurian society. Ethan and Liara remained at the center of the storm, calm and resolute. The palace, once a place of rigid rules and secrecy, now felt alive with possibility. Humans would no longer be hidden, no longer underestimated, and no longer denied. As the twin suns set, casting a warm glow over the palace, Ethan and Liara stood together on a balcony overlooking the city. The gardens shimmered with bioluminescent light, streams floated in midair, and the distant hum of the palace thrummed like a living heart. Liara turned to Ethan, her eyes reflecting both relief and determination. "Tonight we have won a battle," she said, "but the journey is not over. There are those who will resist, who will try to undermine what we have revealed. We must be vigilant. The truth is powerful, but it can also be dangerous. Humans were not outsiders, not just on Zithara, but in any world that valued courage, ingenuity, and heart. They had always survived, adapted, and thrived. And now, standing beside Liara, he understood that their potential was limitless, not because of strength or technology, but because of what it meant to be human. The palace lights reflected in his eyes as he looked at the stars above, each one a distant world full of possibilities. He felt a surge of hope, of pride, and of determination. This was only the beginning. The council had seen the truth, yes, but there was much more to do. Secrets still lingered, challenges awaited, and the path ahead would test them in ways they could not yet imagine. Yet Ethan smiled. Humans had always risen to challenges, often when others thought they could not. And with Liara beside him, guiding and supporting, he felt ready. Ready to face whatever trials awaited, ready to reveal deeper truths, and ready to show the galaxy that humans, underestimated though they might be, were capable of shaping the course of history itself. The city of Zithara glowed under the light of the twin moons now, peaceful yet full of energy. Within the palace, the echoes of debates and revelations faded, leaving behind a sense of possibility and hope. Humans were no longer outsiders. They were participants, partners, and catalysts for change. And for Ethan, standing beside the alien princess who had chosen to defend him, the journey was only beginning. Morning light spread across Zithera like liquid gold, spilling into every corner of the palace. Ethan stood on the balcony, gazing at the floating gardens below. The events of the past days had changed everything. Humans were no longer outsiders, dismissed or underestimated. They were recognized as partners, contributors, and allies. Yet, despite the victory, Ethan knew that the council's acceptance was only the beginning. Old prejudices lingered, and some council members would resist the truth with every fiber of their being. Liara joined him silently, her hand brushing against his. "The council has accepted the evidence," she said softly. "But history is not changed by a single day. People will test you, challenge you, and try to dismiss what they do not want to see. We must act carefully to ensure this truth becomes part of their understanding. Humans have always found ways to adapt and thrive, even in worlds that seem impossible. I won't let this truth be forgotten again. It must reach the people, not just the council." Holographic projectors hovered in the air, ready to display the full history of human involvement with Zithurians. It was a bold move, one that would make the truth undeniable. Liara turned to Ethan. "You will speak," she said. "Your perspective is unique. Humans are not just participants in history. They are capable of courage, intelligence, and insight that even the council must respect. Let them hear it from you." "Honorable members of the council," he began, his voice steady. "I came to Zithera as an observer, as a student of your culture. I did not expect to become part of your history. But the records we have revealed show that humans were never outsiders. We were allies. We contributed. We helped your people survive challenges that could have destroyed civilizations. And we did this not for glory, but because it was right. These are the traits that allowed us to work with your people in ways that changed your world. And they are the traits that allow us to continue learning, contributing, and protecting civilizations today." Scenes of humans navigating cosmic storms, stabilizing collapsing planets, and negotiating peace appeared in vivid detail. The council members' expressions changed as they saw undeniable evidence of human impact. Shock turned to awe, and disbelief began to fade. The silver-haired noble, who had opposed Ethan from the beginning, rose, his face twisted with frustration. "Even if the records are true," he said sharply, "humans cannot understand our ways. They are not part of our lineage. They do not belong here. Their bloodline may be different, but their contributions, their insights, and their sacrifices are no less important than any royals. Denying this is denying truth, and truth cannot be ignored. We only ask for recognition, for acknowledgement that humans are capable of more than prejudice allows. We are partners, and history proves it. The past cannot be changed, but the future can be shaped if you choose to embrace it." The evidence was overwhelming, the testimony clear, and the courage of a human speaking truth alongside a royal princess was undeniable. Finally, a council elder known for wisdom and careful judgment spoke. "The records cannot be disputed," he said slowly. "Humans have been part of our history in ways we have long ignored. Perhaps it is time to acknowledge their role openly, to embrace their contributions, and to learn from their strengths. The council must adapt, as the world itself adapts." Humans were no longer dismissed or underestimated. They were acknowledged, respected, and celebrated. Ethan felt a surge of relief and pride. Humans had always risen to challenges, often when others doubted them. Here, in the heart of Zithera, their ingenuity, courage, and morality had been proven beyond doubt. History had been altered not by force, but by truth and perseverance. Liara turned to him, her eyes reflecting the golden light from the twin suns outside. "You have done more than survive trials, Ethan. You have shown the council, and perhaps all of Zithera, that humans are essential, that they are capable of greatness. This is a moment that will be remembered for generations." "I couldn't have done it without you," he said. "Your courage, your guidance, it made all the difference. And now the council and the people must see it too." Children pointed in wonder, elders nodded in recognition, and scholars whispered in amazement. For the first time, the truth could not be hidden, ignored, or dismissed. Ethan and Liara stood together on a balcony overlooking the crowd. The people below cheered as the history was revealed, the streets filled with a mix of awe, curiosity, and celebration. Humans had crossed worlds, faced countless challenges, and proven themselves invaluable. And now, on Zithera, they were honored for it. Liara turned to Ethan. "This is the power of truth," she said softly. "It can change minds, hearts, and even entire societies. Humans have shown their worth not by demanding recognition, but by living it." He had arrived as a visitor, a simple explorer, yet he had become part of something far greater, a bridge between species, a symbol of courage and ingenuity, and a living testament to the human spirit. As the twin suns set behind the floating towers of the city, casting long, golden shadows across the gardens, Ethan realized that the journey was only beginning. Humans were no longer outsiders. They were participants in history, partners in shaping the future, and symbols of hope for all worlds yet to be discovered. Liara placed her hand in his, and together they looked out across Zithera. The palace shimmered in the evening light, the gardens glowed softly, and streams of water floated in midair, reflecting the colors of the setting suns. The city was alive with possibility, and within it, humans had claimed their place. Ethan took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of accomplishment and the thrill of potential. "We've done it," he said quietly. "Humans are finally seen for what we are." Many worlds await, many challenges remain, and many truths are yet to be revealed. But now, humans will face them not as outsiders, but as equals. Holographic images of human-Zitherian cooperation floated above the plazas. Children laughed as they learned about the bravery of humans, and citizens whispered stories of courage, ingenuity, and friendship across the twin moons of the sky. Humanity had left its mark on Zithera forever. Ethan felt a surge of hope. This world, once alien and imposing, had become a place of connection, understanding, and mutual respect. Humans had survived, adapted, and thrived as they always had, and now their story would inspire not just Zitherans but countless other civilizations across the galaxy. He turned to Liara, their hands still joined. "So, what comes next?" he asked. Liara smiled, her gaze distant but determined. "Next, we explore, we learn, we build bridges between worlds. Humans and Zitherians alike have much to teach each other, and together we will face whatever the stars hold side by side." Humans had always reached for the stars, driven by curiosity, courage, and the desire to make a difference. And now on Zithera their potential had been recognized, their contributions celebrated, and their place in the galaxy secured. The palace behind them was quiet now, the echoes of debates and revelations fading into history. But beyond its walls, the world had changed. Humans were no longer outsiders. They were heroes, partners, and pioneers. And together, Ethan and Liara knew that they would continue to explore, to learn, and to shape a future where courage, intelligence, and moral strength were recognized wherever life existed. And as the first stars of night sparkled above the city, Ethan understood something deeply human, that the courage to stand for truth, the determination to overcome prejudice, and the willingness to act despite fear could change worlds, and perhaps even the galaxy itself. Humans had arrived on Zithera as visitors. They had become participants. And they had proven without question that no matter how small, distant, or underestimated, humanity could shine among the stars.